Hi there, everybody. So this is going to be a short video about the beginning of our work with competencies. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the class, part of our work this semester will involve demonstrating your competencies in 4 different areas. 2 of them that are one of the kind of GOA competencies, and then 2 of them are course-specific competencies. So we're not going to pile on all at once. We've got enough to do. But I do want to start looking at this because you've had a chance now to work with GeoGebra for a little while, so you should be starting to get a sense of how to use CAS, at least in GeoGebra and with some vectors and matrices, to solve math problems. And so a couple quick things I want to remind you about the way that competencies work in this course. The bulk of your work is just entered in the grades as an assignment. And so it's just you have an assignment score, and that goes into your total points as an assignment, regardless of what it is, whether it's one of the discussion forums, you're making videos, whether it's an assignment that's a completion assignment. They all tend to be those are all going into kind of one bucket. And then there are 4 other smaller buckets. Each one is one of the competencies. And each of those competencies is worth basically 25 points. So a total of 100 points for the competencies. By the end of the semester, we'll have a lot more than that in the assignment. So I can't give you an exact number at this point in time, but you can expect that overall competencies will probably be worth at most 25 to 30% of the grade, but it's probably going to be less than that once we get everything in there. Actually, it'll probably be significantly less than that, but we'll get there. But the way we assess them, at least the way I'm going to be asking you to do this, is I'm looking at all of your information. A lot of your work up to this point helps me understand where you are with solving math problems with CAS. But I do want you to have the opportunity to kind of talk about your own feelings about where you are with that competency, and your evidence and in your own kind of words can help support that. And so we're not going to do a full-on portfolio if you're familiar with such things. Basically, what we're going to do is I have a Google Doc that you're going to put in some evidence of your work. You're going to give me just a little bit of a blurb on why, like what part of the competency each piece of evidence is supporting. I don't want to know why it's supporting it. I just want you to say, hey, this piece of evidence goes towards this part of it. Okay, and then at the end of that, you write a short summary of how well the evidence as a whole you feel justifies mastery. One of the things I want to point out is for some of you have been asking about whether or not you can redo problems to get a better grade on it. And the assignments themselves, that's not really the point of that. That's a snapshot assignment. Like, where are you at this point? So I do feel bad that for some of you that would like to do that, but here's where you get that chance to do it. If in the process of doing your evidence, let's say there was a problem in GeoGebra that you did the first time through, and let's say you got a 6 out of 10 on it, but since then you're like, okay, I understand what I did wrong. I know how to do this. You might go and redo that and then include that as part of your evidence. And so that way, when I'm looking at it, yes, I have the evidence that you got the 6 out of 10, but then I'm looking at your work here, and I'm like, oh, well, they've really shown me that they've improved on that and they've got that. And so I encourage you to make some adjustments with that. Okay. This is going to be a living document for the rest of the semester, and I'm going to ask you to add to it. I'm not going to ask you to take things away too much, but I will ask you to add stuff, and you might occasionally update something. The way the grade will go for this is, so on this first one, I'm going to look at this kind of holistically based on the evidence you give me, based on what I've seen up to this point, and you will get a score somewhere between 0 and 25. It's very unlikely to be 0 unless you turn nothing in. It's also unlikely to be 25 because the reality is we're not done with the course yet and you haven't mastered all of it. Certainly not all of what I'm expecting. However, the way the grade will continue is when we come back around to this and I reassess this down the road, the score that you do get at this time gets replaced with the score at that time. So this is one that's actually, you will always only have 25 points in this category. And as time goes on, that will change. So like, let's say right now, based on the evidence you show me and where you are, I'm like, this person has in terms of kind of where they are is at about a 16 points out of 25. Okay, that's just a random number. I don't know if anybody's going to be right there. But that means, roughly getting about 3/5 of what I'm looking for. Not a bad place to be. This still somewhat early in the course. But the next time, let's say the next time we roll around to assess it, and I'm looking at your work again, and I'm looking at anything you've added to this document, and I'm like, oh, you know what? I think that actually they're showing about 4/5 competency, so like a 4 out of a 5, so about 20 points worth. What happens then is the 16 points disappears and is replaced with the 20 points. So it's not like we're averaging anything. Each time we assess, the new grade replaces the old one. That's how we're doing competencies. Okay. Now, I do want to point out, you might be doing really, really well right now, and I might be encouraged to give you like a 22 or a 23 or a 24 because you've really, really demonstrated some significant work at this point. That doesn't guarantee that you will continue to go up. So don't, it's one of the reasons why I probably will not, unless you can show me some amazing stuff on this first one, it's unlikely anybody's going to get a 24 or 25 because I want, you have room to grow. But you could go down. So let's say I give you've earned about 23 points out of 25 this time, and then the next time you kind of haven't really been working on this and things aren't going as well, it could be down to 18 or 19 out of 25 at this point. So the only thing to keep in mind is that this will continue to be updated until the very end of the semester. So if by the end of the semester in all 4 of the competencies you show complete mastery of what we're looking for, you will have 25 points in every one of those categories, regardless of what you had previous to that. You could have zeros in all of them, although I don't encourage you to do that because you want to get feedback on where you are. But you could technically have zeros and get 25 on the last shot, and then you're good. Don't do that, but I'm just telling you that's the way to do it, or that could happen. Okay, a couple things I want to point out is in terms of the document that you'll look at, I just want to show you really quickly here. You'll notice it says video here and video link here. That's because I'm making the video right now, and that will be in there when you get to this page. This link right here will take you to the document that you are going to be using. So you'll click on it, and we'll show you what happens. And what you'll get is you'll get a screen that looks like this. It says, would you like to make a copy? And so you'll click yes, make a copy. And so your Google Drive, if you don't have Google Drive, you're probably going to want to get that, but you should. You'll get to this point, and you'll notice it says copy of CAS Competency, your name. What I want you to do before you even read anything that's on here, I want you to come up here, and I want you to delete copy of, and I want you to put your name. And I'm just going to put my name, Jim Wysocki, and then you can hit enter. And so now it's saved like this. And then the next thing I want you to do, again, before you've read anything here, is come over here to share. And you're going to enter my email address, jim.wysocki@globalonlineacademy.org. Did I spell that all correctly? Yes. You don't have to send me a note. You just go ahead and hit send, and then it will share that with me, and then I will be able to have access to that. You will retain access to it, so it's not something that disappears. When I comment on stuff, I will actually use the commenting feature in Google Docs. So this just describes some of what you're going to be doing up here. This tells you what I'm looking for, and then this is the actual competency itself. Including some specific outcomes that you should be looking for. So when I talk about the 1 to 2 sentences explaining what part of it is evidence for, this is what I'm talking about. Are you demonstrating appropriate use of syntax? Were you able to actually interpret a problem and use CAS appropriately to find a solution? There's some editing I have to do there. And then do you understand what the CAS is actually doing? So yeah, GeoGebra does some cool stuff, but do you understand what's going on in the background? So part of that is going to be helping me understand that you know that as well. Anyway, so that's that. If you have any questions about this, please let me know. This is an ongoing thing. Ideally, I'm going to be looking at making some judgments on where you are based on this work probably over the weekend or the early next week. So if you don't quite get it done by Friday, the 28th, that's totally fine. But I wouldn't push it too much past that, because otherwise I will put a 0 in there and I won't look at it again until I get to it again. So the 0 will stay, even if you add evidence after that. And that's okay, because, like I said, the 0 will get replaced at the second time. But this is definitely one where I'm not going to be kind of constantly checking it, because we have 3 other competencies we'll be getting to, and I'm going to try and space that out so you're not getting hit with all of it at once. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense, and if you have any questions, please, as usual, twist me, or if you want to set up a Zoom, that works too. But otherwise, have a great day.